Hurts was the MVP, rightfully so.
Yeah.
But the reason why that game was what it was because Vic Fangio's defense, specifically that defensive front, was, from a different planet. They were that good. I can't remember the last time a front four dominated a super. In my lifetime, it's probably happened. Steelers, Steel Curtain.
How about the 2020 Super Bowl and Todd Bowles Buccaneers against Patrick Mahomes? I mean, a lot like that.
But that was, you could understand it because the Chiefs were missing both of their tackles, right? Yep. The Chiefs' offensive line was about as healthy as they've been all year.
Yeah, I mean, you still got Joe. I mean, yeah. Look, I'm not going to try and take away from the Eagles' defense. They played awesome. They didn't blitz. They didn't blitz a single time, which was unheard of for Vic Fangio. The last time he played Mahomes was I think it was in the playoffs when he was missing both of his pass rushers, including Bradley Chubb. Blitzed like 66% of the time. Mahomes carved him up. They didn't blitz at all. We got pressure home with 4. I mean, we talk about this. The Giants did it against the Patriots.
Yeah.
If you're playing an all-time great quarterback, and Mahomes is still that, even though, and I wrote about this from CBSSports.com, I think the Brady-Mahomes comparisons, we got to smash the brakes, hit the parking brake on those things.
Well, we should have been doing that anyway.
Probably. But yeah, to beat a great quarterback, you need to get home with 4. And if you're getting home with 4 and you've got good players on the back end, you can really do some damage to any quarterback. You can definitely do some damage to an all-time quarterback. And the Eagles clearly, motivated. I mean, clearly they have a ton of talent. And Howie Roseman did an incredible job. You think about losing Jason Kelce, losing Fletcher Cox. You do that and you still replace those guys who are the literal backbone of your team and in the locker room, and they still go out and win the Super Bowl. I mean, you're right. The story is the defensive line and how they pressured Mahomes all night. Immediately. I think I saw Mike Sando's article on The Athletic. It was, Mahomes' time to throw was 3.38 seconds, which time to throw is a tricky stat because, one, it can imply you're having great protection, or it can imply, you're running laterally without being able to throw the ball because your receivers are covered. And when Mahomes is in those situations, his production, his EPA plummets. And this is one of those cases.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. And I think it occurred to me, and I put this on social media. I was using Blue Sky last night. Mahomes looked to me like year one Bryce Young. And that ain't a good thing. Because I thought Mahomes was pressured all the time. And when he wasn't, he was escaping nowhere. He ran into pressure when he wasn't pressured. So I thought he looked bad.
And we talk about these Chiefs teams that won the Super Bowls and have won all these games. They won 17 games, 12 were one-score games, 12 featured comebacks, all that stuff. When you're living on the edge like that and sort of playing with fire in terms of, how you beat teams, if you don't execute properly, and it's going to be a lot harder to win. If you execute really poorly, which is what the Chiefs did, it's going to be impossible to win. And you saw that, with the drop by Hopkins when he's wide open on that third down. Whether it's, the 2 interceptions by Mahomes are as bad as you'll see probably from him ever in his career. The one down by the goal line, it's
that was bad.
Whoa. What are you doing?
Well, he was hit. Josh Sweat shoved Joe Thuney into him as he threw.
Sure.
So that ended up being a terrible pass.
Thuney had a bad day. Thuney had a bad day at the office too. Let's be real. He did not play well at left tackle. It's not his natural position.
Right.
He shifted out there and been good during the playoff run. I'm not saying I'm just saying the thing with Mahomes, you get blocked, you get hit, all of that, but you're down 17-0 at half. And you're getting the ball, maybe, you can make something work. 24-0 just became it was just too much at that point in time. And just a stunning first half outcome, for a team that was favored by 1.5 points and has Andy Reid and has Patrick Mahomes and just did nothing on offense. All the credit in the world to that defensive line of Vic Fangio.
And I said this earlier, if Mahomes doesn't make those 2 throws, the first throw was worse because he clearly never saw Cooper DeJean. He never saw him, and he should have seen him because he had rolled out.
In his defense, he wasn't expecting a Caucasian defensive back.
Very, very good point. It's a very good point that I think a lot of people probably would overlook. But he never saw him.
I had a friend of a friend text me and he said he's a huge Eagles fan. He said, "Tell Ben Franklin to move over. There's a new greatest Caucasian in Philly history."
Oh wow! There are a lot of jokes that we could add on to that. But so we never saw him. The interception by Zach Bond was absolutely amazing. Again, I think Mahomes was hit, but
sure.
I mean, it is what it is. By the way, Zach Bond looks like the unnecessary action hero, doesn't he? He does. He looks like the unnecessary action hero.
And, I mean, the other thing too, like on that Mahomes story, and again, I know he's hit, I know like all of that, but if you're not down 17-0, maybe you're not forcing that throw,
right?
You know what I mean? Like there's a certain element of pressing, trying to score before the half,
no question,
because you're getting the ball back, and because look, I mean, the Chiefs were never winning the game; it's never close. I'm not trying to spin it as anything other than that, but if you do go score there, and you pick up even 3 points and you score coming out of the half, and it's suddenly 17-10. It's just one of those things where in these games, we have been getting our asses kicked, and it's 17-10, and then instead it's 24-0. It feels a lot more like this. It just changes. It sort of changes everything. I mean, not that I thought the Chiefs were coming back.
I agree with you. I didn't think they were either, and even though the Fox crew tried to make it just takes one play. Actually, it's going to take a lot more than one play.
I mean, the guy calling the game did come back for 28-3. So, and like the last time there was a pick six in the Super Bowl was that 28-3 game.
Right.
So I guess if you're going to have anybody caught like trying to make these preposterous, just one play, you can kind of flip things around. Tom Brady would be the guy, right?
No, but I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about Bradshaw and Johnson.
Right.
Those guys at halftime were like, it just takes one play. Nah, it's going to take a lot more based on what we just saw. Because what we just saw was utter dominance. The Chiefs had one first down. It was their first play in the first half. They didn't cross midfield until the pass to Xavier Worthy, like late in the third quarter. That was the first time they crossed midfield. But
I wrote a story where the title was "Has there ever been a?" It's an SEO game, right? But it's like, has there ever been a shutout in the Super Bowl? Because there never has been. We got close to that Broncos-Seahawks game a few years ago where the Broncos, that high-flying Peyton Manning offense, scored with 0 seconds left in the third quarter. I mean, it kind of felt like the Chiefs were going to get shut out in this one.
It absolutely. If the Eagles wanted it to be a shutout, I think it could have. All right. So I thought that Mahomes was shook early. The first couple of passes to Travis Kelce were bad. I don't even understand why those are classified as drops. Those aren't drops. Why? Like, they refer to those as. I'm like, are you kidding me? Well, one pass was down by his ankle behind him. The other pass was behind him on the hip, and he got hit. I'm like, I didn't think that. Did
it feel like, like reading the quotes from the Philly defenders where several of them said that the whole three-peat idea, and I had written about the three-peat trademark before the game,
right?
And while writing it, it's kind of like, man, and I included this in the story. It's like, this is going to sound stupid, but you better believe that the Eagles will be motivated by the three-peat thing. And I'm not saying that the Chiefs showed up or like, where's our third ring?
Right.
But watching the game, it felt like one team was supremely motivated to deny the other team, or what the other team thought was kind of rightfully theirs.
Well, here's we talked about it a week ago, and I talked about it the week before and all week, that the number one unit that had not been discussed, we talked about Saquon Barkley, we talked about the Chiefs all over the place. We hadn't talked about how great Philly's defense was.
Yeah, that's defensive football. Or close to one of the two with the Ravens, probably.
I mean, they were probably better than.
I think statistically they were the best scoring defense in football. I mean, the Eagles lost one game after their Week 5 bye, and it was when Jalen Hurts got hurt and left the game, and the Commanders stole one from him. So this is the team in Philly. So I think you can make the case over plenty of years, and you can talk about these Tom Brady situations too, where I think the Falcons game applies, where the Atlanta Falcons in that Super Bowl 10 years ago were the better overall team. And I think the 49ers certainly once the Brock Purdy game, maybe twice, maybe not. Maybe that Chiefs team is better. But I think the Eagles now twice and the 49ers once against Mahomes were certainly the better football teams and the better football rosters.
Right.
And the biggest difference, and again, so I don't really, I'm not bothered by being wrong about my pick of the Chiefs to win. I mean, it was dead ass wrong, but it's the advantage. The reason you pick the Chiefs, the reason you back the Chiefs and back Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes,
right?
And that's the deciding factor. And if he's playing poorly and he's completely pressured, and by the way, that's his worst game as a pro.
Yes,
regular season, postseason, preseason, whatever, ever, and it's easily his worst game as a pro. If a guy who is trying to make a claim for greatest quarterback of all time goes out and lays an egg like that against a really good roster and a good defense, that's the result you're going to get 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, look, I was surprised at the blowout, but the Eagles' defensive front really made it so, plus 2 individually great plays on the back end. The DeJean pick six. Great name for a podcast. I got to start one like that. And the Bond interception, which led to the A.J. Brown touchdown. I mean, if those 2 things don't happen, if the Eagles only get a field goal out of the DeJean interception, maybe the same thing out of Bond, or if that doesn't happen because that was a great individual play. Then maybe we're talking about a different thing, but those things happened, and that's why Philadelphia just created all that separation. But then we saw Jalen Hurts be able to throw the ball down the field. Yeah. Now, I'm not going to get all sorts of crazy. He's the same quarterback I thought he was ahead of time, which is I think he is a much better version of Dak Prescott. Given the running ability. I mean, he's a top 10 quarterback, and that's not even up for question. It might be a top 6 or 7 quarterback, sure. But he's not Mahomes, Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow. But right. He is, with the right team around him, you can absolutely win a Super Bowl, which has been proven. Heck, they probably could have won it a couple of years ago if he doesn't fumble that ball. So sure. I have zero. But we're going to make more of Jalen Hurts than we need to, and for some reason we disparaged him all last year and the year before. He was hurt last year. I don't even understand why we do that.
I think Hurts is an incredible leader.
Yes.
I think he is an above average passing quarterback. I mean, he can get better. Guys get better as they get older.
Made some great throws yesterday.
And he can have some great games. But I think, again, we talk about these, you talk about teams and quarterbacks and coaching and how they all fit together, what the Eagles want to do on offense behind a really good offensive line. Howie Roseman built this team through the trenches on the defensive and the offensive side. You lose Jason Kelce is a stone cold lock for the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
And Fletcher Cox is a borderline Hall of Famer. And you lose both of those guys in the offseason. You change coordinators on both sides of the ball, and you still come out and have a dominant season. It's because that roster is so good and so deep. And it's just you don't have that with. And so when you have a guy like Jalen Hurts, who's a really good leader, who can pass the ball well when when he's protected and when he's got these weapons, and then he's such a threat with his legs, and you also have Saquon Barkley.
Yep.
I mean, it's just a loaded roster, and he fits in nicely with it. I mean, as I think a lot of quarterbacks would.
People have been saying it for months. Best roster in the league. Shocking that the best roster in the league would also win the Super Bowl. Will Brinson, senior NFL writer, CBSSports.com. We got a lot more football to discuss. We should do this again in a week and discuss more football and see what happens next year, and we'll do that if that's okay with you.
Let's do it. Talk to you next week, man.
All right, brother. Take care.
Buddy.